FutzVerb plugin by McDSP combines two of the most commonly used effects into a single process, distortion and reverb. Building on the famous FutzBox plugin, FutzVerb contains the same prefiltering and distortion features, but adds on a fully featured and flexible reverberation engine with 22 reverb types and 12 reflection types, among other features. Just like FutzBox, FutzVerb comes with a library of sims, or synthetic impulse models. Each of these were designed by McDSP to mimic the sounds of telephones, radios, fax machines, and much more, with no internal latency. However, unlike FutzBox sims, the FutzVerb sims can be placed at strategic locations in the algorithm, including pre-reverb, post-reverb, and even inside the reverb tank. Together, these distortion and reverb features are great for creating lo-fi, saturated, and distorted sounds, as well as creating ambient effects, rich chorusing, and deep sub-octave pitch shifts. Let's take a closer look at the controls and explore some of the many effects you can generate with FutzVerb. The controls on FutzVerb are divided into 7 sections of processing, each of which can be individually bypassed and engaged with the buttons to the left of each section's title. Because the audio signal travels from left to right, we'll start with the controls on the left of the UI, where the input signal starts. Processing begins with the Prefilter section, which provides high-pass and low-pass filters derived from McDSP's award-winning filter bank plugin. Each filter comes with a frequency knob to set the frequency at which the filter is applied, as well as a Q knob to adjust the amount of resonant peak in each filter, and a switch to select between a slope of -12 or -24 dB per octave. This is great for removing low-frequency rumble, unwanted vocal plosives, tape hiss, waterfalls, or general ambient background noise that may affect the distortion and/or reverb algorithms. Moving on to the distortion section, which is where the user can control the amount of distortion and its overall character. Starting from top to bottom, the amount knob controls the level of distortion that is introduced in the audio signal, while the mix knob controls the balance between the distorted signal and the signal coming into the distortion section. Just below that is the distortion mode selector, which is where one of the plugin's 10 different distortion modes can be selected, each of which offers its own unique character. We also have the intensity control. It controls the distortion's overall tone, but its functionality changes depending on which distortion and intensity mode, original or tuned, is selected. The tuned intensity mode allows more low end to survive the plugin's distortion processing, as opposed to the original intensity mode, which is more aggressive and has the tendency to cause low-end signal loss at high distortion values. To the right of intensity is chop, which adds inner cycle waveform distortion and allows the user to operate this function for a single inner cycle event when set to single mode, or for multiple events when set to multi-mode. When in multi-mode, the greater the chop control value, the more chop events will occur in the audio. Last up in the distortion section are the rectify and wobble knobs. Rectify distorts the input signal by reducing the amplitude of the negative portion of the audio wave cycle until it reaches 0 at the maximum setting, while wobble creates low-frequency modulation of the entire distortion characteristic. Its effect is best heard on low-end heavy material when used in conjunction with the tuned intensity mode. Immediately after the distortion section is the Preverb section. This section allows for fine-tuning of the distortion section's output with the high tone and low tone controls, which allow the user to boost or cut the high and low frequency ranges, respectively. This can be especially helpful for trimming back any harshness or rumble that may come from the distortion processing. Just below the high and low tone controls is the sub-control. This control uses a sub-octave generator to mix in a pitched-down version of the signal. The switch below this control selects between the two sub-octave modes, 1x, which generates a signal 1 octave below the original signal, and 2x, which generates signals both 1 and 2 octaves below the original signal. Lastly, a pre-delay control allows the user to delay the onset of reverb when turned to the right, or delay the original signal when turned to the left. Now onto the upper middle section of the UI, which is where the sim, or synthetic impulse model, section is located. This section is bypassed by default, so click the box next to sim to engage it. From there, click the sim name to bring up the large library of sims from the original FutzBox plugin. To select a sim, either click one from the menu, or use the arrows on either side of the selected sim's name to quickly cycle through the sim list. FutzVerb sims include radios, telephones, cell phones, speakers, televisions, garbage cans, PVC pipes, vacuum cleaner tubes, and more. In the top right corner of the sim section is the sim position selection, which allows the user to place the sim before, after, or inside the reverb tank. Note that when verb is selected, meaning that the sim is set inside of the reverb tank, a feedback slider will be displayed to adjust the amount of potential feedback that may be caused by placing the sim inside the reverb tank. Not all reverb algorithms in FutzVerb will require feedback adjustment when the sim is placed inside the verb tank, and for those reverb types, the feedback slider will not be shown. Last is the tune slider, which allows for aspects of the sim's sonic character to be adjusted. Just below the sim section is FutzVerb's lo-fi section, which provides control over downsample rates, filtering, and bit depth values. It can be engaged by clicking the box at the bottom of the section. The higher the rate slider, the more the sample rate of the input signal will be reduced. The filter slider counteracts the aliasing artifacts commonly caused by lowering a signal sample rate, and the bit slider selects the bit depth of the signal. To the right of the sim and lo-fi sections is the reverb section. This powerful engine packs a lot of control into a small area, making it great for creating the ideal ambient space to complement filtering, distortion, sim, and lo-fi settings. The top of the section begins with the decay knob, which controls the length of a reverberation, and on its left are the early 1 and early 2 knobs, which control the reverb's onset. These two controls provide a great variety of ambient sounds when combined with density control, which controls the amount of early reflection diffusion. Underneath decay are two menus, the reverb type menu on the top and the reflection type menu on the bottom. Choose from 22 reverb types to completely alter the sound of the space, and choose from 12 reflection types to change behavior of the reverb's early reflections. Below the density control is the damping control, which adjusts the amount of high-frequency reduction as audio travels through the reverb tank. Increasing the damping amount is a good way to shorten the reverb tail without decreasing the decay, which can result in a more natural reverb sound. To the right of damping are the color and width controls. Color boosts or cuts some of the high-frequency output of the reverb to help it stand out or tuck behind the original signal, while width allows for stereo field adjustment. This knob defaults to standard stereo in the middle, then approaches mono to the left, and wider than stereo to the right. Lastly, at the bottom of the reverb section are the drift and rate controls, which are used in conjunction with each other to create a chorus-like modulation effect that is different for each reverb type. Drift controls the amount of pitch modulation, and rate controls the rate of the pitch modulation. The last section is the dynamics section, which includes gate and duck options to gate or duck the reverb output in cases where it may interfere with the rest of the mix. Use the gate duck knob at the top of this section to adjust the sensitivity level that causes the reverb output to gate or duck. Turning the control to the left will gate the reverb output when the signal is not present, an effect that is great for achieving a big sound without a big tail that muddies up the mix. Turning the control to the right works the opposite way, by suppressing the reverb when the signal is present. This is good for keeping the reverb from overshadowing the original input. Below the gate duck knob are controls to adjust the gating and ducking algorithm. Range controls the maximum amount of gate or duck in dB. Hold controls how long the gate or duck effect will stay active, and attack sets the rate at which gain reduction is applied. Finally, release sets the rate of recovery from gain reduction. A meter to the right of these controls displays the reverb output levels along with the gain reduction amounts. Lastly, FutzVerb features input and output controls as well as a mix control. The in and out knobs in the top left and right corners of the plugin's UI control the volume of the signal coming in and out of the plugin, while the mix knob sets the balance between the dry input and wet output signal. Now that we're familiar with all the controls on FutzVerb, let's listen to a few examples to hear a few of the awesome sounds you can create with this plugin. Let's kick things off with this vocal bus, which includes a lead with a few harmonies.
If only you could stay here. If only you could stay here. If only you could stay here. If only you could stay here.
In this example, the preverb and reverb sections are doing the most work, We have the sub knob turned up to 54% on 1x mode, which means we're only mixing in the sound of 1 octave below the input signal. In the reverb section, decay is up at 57%, while the density knob is cranked up all the way for more early reflection diffusion. We're also adding some width, taking away some brightness with the color knob, and using the abyss reverb type. But all that's not to say that FutzVerb can't pull off some more normal sounding reverbs too. Let's check out how it sounds on this drum bus. This time, the distortion section is playing a huge role and bringing up some more subtle sounds that may have gone unnoticed otherwise. Let's hear it with and without the distortion section engaged. As you could hear, I was able to change the tone of these drums pretty significantly. In the Preverb section, we're using a tiny bit of the sub knob just to get even more body out of these drums, and we also have the garbage can 1 sim in the reverb tank. And in the reverb section, we're using the Hall reverb type. Density is turned up all the way again, and color is giving us some brightness. Let's get back to some more special effects. Here's a vocal that's completely transformed when FutzVerb is engaged.
We will get close, doesn't need to be personal. I know your ghosts, 'cause they talk to me through the wall.
Rather than walk you through each section, I'll let each one speak for itself. Each one is playing a pretty significant role in the final sound we're getting. Let's hear FutzVerb on an orchestra. This is the perfect opportunity to show off the feedback control, which appears for some reverb types to control sim feedback. I'll dial it up now and move the tune slider around to dial in some eerie resonances that work perfectly with the rest of the orchestra. Last up are some more sounds that we've completely transformed with FutzVerb. Let's play them all back to back.
Rebooting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome! Password required for entry. Rebooting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome! Password required for entry.
It's a vibe, it's a vibe. It's a vibe I be giving. It's a vibe. Feel the beat, it's a vibe I be giving.
The next time you're looking for a reverb with a side of audio destruction, FutzVerb has you covered. Don't be afraid to experiment to see what unique distortion and reverb sounds you can create. Interested in learning more? Try out the FutzVerb free 14-day trial at the link in the description. It can be purchased on its own, and it's also included in the all-access subscription as well as the Everything Pack plugin bundle. We've linked all of these options in the description as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more McDSP tips and content. Also, feel free to use the links in the description to follow us on other social media platforms. We will see you next time.